Hi, welcome to Control and Compound with Darren Mitchell. I'm your host, Darren Mitchell, and I am so excited for today's podcast. We have one of the absolute gurus in property investment, specifically in Southern Ontario and in the pre-construction market. Simeon Papailias. Simeon is part of the rec team co-founder. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at that pre-construction market in Southern Ontario or Vancouver, just show you how it works. But we're going to walk through it step by step and say, what should I be looking for? Who should I be dealing with? Where should I buy? How should I buy? So we're going to go through that with a leader in Canada. And then at the end of this, we're going to have a little bonus section. And I'm going to actually walk you through how I paid for a condo using the infinite banking policy and how I did that. And it's an actual, full disclosure. It was through Rec Canada that I bought this. So really excited. Let's bring him in. Simeon, how are you today?
Darren, good morning. Thank you for having me, my friend. I appreciate the kind words.
No problem. So just so much to unpack here today, but I really, I got a couple things I want to talk about. I want to talk about your Rec Canada. Is it REC Canada or Rec Canada? How do you like to say it?
It's REC Canada. REC stands for the Real Estate Center, but it's a 50-50. People call us REC all the time, so we've adopted it, but it is REC Canada. And we've been at this thing for about 16 years now. So
Well, I was pretty excited. I think I got your name pretty close. So I screwed up the business, but the name was close. So we got something there.
but it was close, Darren. It's better than Cinnaminiums and many of the others I've heard. So it's Simeon Papailias to everybody who has not heard of me. I do run the REC Canada group down here in Toronto and the entire GTA.
Love it. And then you get all kinds of stuff that we'll dig into as well that you're doing. So so tell me
Sure.
how you got started in this real estate world. When did REC Canada? When was it born? When did you start to really grow, and how has the business grown through the years? So when did you first start in the real estate world?
Yeah, so I got licensed in '06 and '07. So by the end of the year 2007, I was fully licensed and through registration and in my optionals, etc. I was practicing real estate kind of on the side before then, and it wasn't selling real estate illegally. Basically, I was in the restaurant business. I was born and raised in the service industry in the restaurant business, and the internet had just come out around those late '90s. I'm born in 1980, so I'm 42 today, but I graduated in '98, '97, '98, and the internet had kind of just started letting loose. Meaning, if everybody remembers, modems were still dial-in, connections were slow, but chat rooms started coming about and all that jazz. And being in the restaurant business, my parents obviously of Greek descent, if you know Greek last names, but we're very much embedded in the restaurant industry here in Ontario and in Canada. So basically, we were in the restaurant business since I was born in it, and there was a time my dad said we need to sell one of the restaurants we have. Called an agent. The agent couldn't get it done after a month, after 2 months. And I'm looking online and I put in businesses for sale, and this magic website comes up called businessesforsale.ca. And the internet, the old internet. So I put up a listing of our business, and literally in less than a week, I got 4 or 5 calls, and one of them I closed. And I'm 18 years old.
That's fit.
$300,000 business was transacted out of somebody who called me off the internet.
And he said, "Wait a minute, I might be onto something here."
So it happens again the next year. In 2000, I moved to Toronto to finish my studies, accounting and financial management at Ryerson. I come to Ryerson, I finish my studies, I get a job in the financial sector. 2004, I go back to Alberta because my dad wanted us to build one of our pieces of land into a restaurant in a business, and I go back, and by then I was kind of infamous across the Greek restaurant circuit for being able to sell restaurants online. So for the 2 years that I was in Alberta, building a restaurant, operating a restaurant. I sold 6 Greek restaurants in Red Deer, Alberta.
That's awesome.
But literally charged 10%. So on a $300,000 sale, we're talking about 30 grand. I'm 24 years old and I'm walking around with 300K in my pocket. So at the same time, I get a letter because one of the lawyers who I did the deal with disclosed it, which he should have, all of them should have, that the person getting paid is not a licensed broker. And I didn't have to be. I wasn't breaking the law because I wasn't selling the actual brick and mortar. I was just selling the business.
Okay.
But the last one, I sold the building too. So they're like, wait a minute, sir, you cannot be selling buildings. You're not qualified to do this. This is a country with organized real estate. I'm like, no problem, but I got away with it because it was private. So because it was a private transaction, you can. But that was kind of the aha moment, saying like, why the hell don't I have my license? Why am I sitting here putting pizzas in and out of the oven when I can just sell restaurants and literally make 5 times more? And it's more enjoyable. And it's something that I like to do. I've always liked sales. So that's kind of the origin story of how where I looked at real estate first. And when I got back, I sold our last restaurant. We kept the real estate. Obviously, we're a real estate family. So sold the business, kept the real estate, moved back to Toronto, and I got into real estate. And that's when I got into sales. I met my late partner Simon. I met Jazz, and we formed both a friendship and a business that has, well, standing today after 16 years, 15, 16 years.
Wow, that's incredible. And so, I mean, now you've built this very successful business. How many employees at REC now?
We're close to 65, so we have about 52 or 53 agents and about 10 support staff.
Wow. And you're what I love about you guys, I consider myself a financial educator. I educate people on infinite banking, and then they decide if they want to do it. And you guys are big on the education. What was the driving force, and why do you believe education is so important, especially with respect to real estate investors?
Yes, so I think it's relevant to every industry, specifically in this space. Nobody wakes up one day and says, I'm going to be a real estate investor today, or I was born to be a real estate investor. Real estate investment is a matter of education, opportunity, networking, self motivation. There's a million reasons why people seek passive income, why people seek security. And everybody has a different why as to what they're in it for. But nonetheless, the asset class of real estate, because of its unique ability to be leveraged, is different than anything else. So if I have $100,000 and I want to buy Apple stock, I buy $100,000 worth of Apple stock. $100,000 would get me $500,000 worth of house, though. So the very principle, the very first step in acquisition teaches you the very first lesson that you don't need to pay its whole value in cash today and appreciate. You can use a portion. So the bank is okay with funding you 80%. 80%. It's an immediate 5x the day one when you started. You acquired an asset worth 5 times more than your financial capacity. So if you can let that sink in, that is the very founding principle of where everybody starts in investment, above and beyond your house, in investment. So you can stretch your dollar 5 times more off the bat.
Great. And then how much? What percent of the gain do you get? Does the bank get 80% of the gain too? I don't think so.
Well, and that's just it. So if we're gonna go down the ABCs of why and how we built our business, it is because we have taken the time to educate the consumer to become a business owner, to become an investor, to take charge of their own independence and their future by using an asset class that is funded by others to benefit you.
Wow.
It is funded by others to benefit you.
Unbelievable.
And everybody eats along the way. meaning Canadian banks are sinking with money, and interest rates have been at record lows because they have that much money out. Their profits are insane. And that's not a bad thing. This is a good thing. Let them profit while you profit. When everybody's winning, this is a world that you want to be a part of. When you can use the bank's money and they're happy to give it to you, and you're making double-digit returns year after year, what else could you possibly want? The only remaining piece was then to educate them further in what steps to take and when and how and where to profit securely, using stability, using the fundamentals of real estate to profit again and again and again, like all civilizations have since the beginning of time.
So I want to really dig into how to buy a property for an investor, but I just want to step back. So, given the success you guys have had, I'm assuming developers are pounding your door saying, hey, can you promote our project? Can you promote this one? You must literally be inundated with tons of projects, but yet you only sort of put out there into to your subscribers a limited amount. How do you take a huge list and shrink it down, and how do you get that word out to people that are looking to invest?
Yeah, so both my partner and I are investors first. So that's kind of the foundation. So the reason we've built the business we have is because we've been very fortunate in our lives to never need the next transaction. We always outworked everyone, and we work hard enough to never have commission breath, is what we call it in the business. And when you don't have commission breath, or you're patient enough to build a real business, this is where I feel grateful that I've been rewarded by the universe everything I've ever wanted, because we were patient. Meaning we took the time, and it's our secret to success, and anybody can steal it because you're only going to make the world a better place, is we implemented what we called an intake. Today we call it the REAP, the Real Estate Action Plan. When I meet Darren Mitchell, you went through a REAP. I guarantee it. Whether it was me who did it, Jazz who did it, Tyler, one of the team members, somebody took a half hour to an hour to do what's in the financial business called the KYC. Who are you? What money do you have? What do you plan to do? What is your tolerance for risk? Are you aggressive? Are you conservative? Are you crazy? So whatever it is, we can actually put together a proper mandate. So your goal would be to get a pre-construction or a triplex or a 30plex, whatever the case may be, and get the power team assembled, get the geographic area assembled, the budget, the funding, the insurance, the lawyers, put together a deal where there is no chance whatsoever that you will lose. None. Going back to builders, because 15 years ago, they weren't chasing us, we were chasing them. We would ask to promote their project. Why? Because we believed in it. Then they would give us the due diligence. We would do our due diligence and to see that this is not the deal that we thought it was. Imagine chasing the developer, begging for units, they give them to you, and then you got to turn around and say, unfortunately, you don't pass our due diligence. We fought our way up with integrity and hard work the entire time. But the results that our clients saw year after year were the proof and the rocket fuel that put us to where we are today. Everybody who's done business with us has made hundreds of thousands of dollars in their portfolios. And for some people, it's easy to say that, but real estate has been going up for the last decade astronomically. Let me tell you that not everyone out there is making money in real estate. There's more skill required than ever in this market, and especially now that it's turned a bit again. Like in the last month, real estate has turned. We're recording June 15th, 2022. In March, when the interest rates went up, it froze the market and put it in a different trajectory, and we'll talk to that. But due diligence is how we do it. We get presented with over 180 projects a year. We narrow it down to 6 to 12 per annum that are going to go in front of our clients' eyes, where we sign off and say, buy this, you will win.
And how do you get that out to the investors? How do they find out more about these projects?
Absolutely. So reccanada.com is our website if you want to become an REC insider. So this is, again, consumer. If you have your real estate license, I'm going to tell you to go to brokersplaybook.com, where that's the platform that I use to teach and pass our insight along to other brokers in order to elevate the industry, where you will get all 180 packages along with the due diligence folders to choose what's right for your client. So if you're a broker, go to brokersplaybook.com. If you're an investor looking for your next investment, REC Canada is our company, and there's no place that you're going to have access to more tools and or people who are going to qualify you properly for your next investment.
Yeah, I love those the REC marketplaces. There's a marketplace you do where you're going to say, here's 3 or 4 deals, and these are why we picked these 3 or 4 deals. But you can kind of get a taste of, I know when I went through it, it was like, oh, okay, these are all pretty cool, but I don't really want to do that one. That one doesn't fit me for, oh, this one fits. And then you can dig into it and find out a little bit more information. But, I look at the people that are successful, my clients in real estate, and they've all either made a lot of mistakes and got there, or they shortened the journey and said, why don't I deal with someone who's already done those mistakes a million times and learned how to avoid them and fix them, and has perfected a system and has that team and has the lawyers and the insurance person and all these different things. So I love the education part.
Yeah, don't kid yourself. We made hundreds of mistakes, and we've made mistakes on behalf of our clients too. The difference is that we pay for those mistakes, meaning that we don't say, oops, sorry, you're on your own. For example, one of my clients, one of my agents placed a tenant in there. They screened them, they called the reference, they did all the things. How about everything was fake? Everything from the beginning. Tenant was a real piece of shit. A really good fraud artist. So what? The building's still there. The only thing that has to happen, the place has to be painted, a little bit of drywall patch. The tenant left on their own because we started giving them the gears, inspections, and all the things. She's leaving. $1,500. We're going to clean this up and move along. Who do you think is paying for that paint? I am. Who do you think is going to replace the tenant? I am. Do I need to do these things? No. But we do these things because our client mean the world to us. Our clients are loyal. Our clients believe us. They trust us. And we just won't stir them wrong. And we make a tremendous amount of money transacting real estate because values are high. So our margins are very healthy. We are very blessed to be in this business. So why wouldn't I give back to ensure that my client feels like a superstar at all times? That they're taken care of, that they're never alone. And that's what's lacking in the investor community, which is why we were able to grow so quickly. People think, I'm not talking about quickly 6 months. I'm talking quickly 10 years. That's quickly. People have worked their entire lives without being able to see success or grow 2-3%. We grow 25% a year. So these are the fundamental principles of our business and what's going to fuel the next 25% growth. We started with 10 people, 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, 20. We're at 55. I want to be at 75 to 100 in the next 3 years. Why? Because I'm going to continue to provide that level of service. And there are many agents out there who do care, who want to be a part of that. There's also a million agents who don't give a shit. And all they care about is the next transaction. And those people, through this recession that we're living through today, and will be living through for the next year, year and a half, are going to weed themselves out and make it easy for guys like me to take that market share.
Yeah, again, similarities between our businesses are incredible. The commission breadth we have on our side, and we have the one and done, we call them, where anyone can sell your house or anyone can sell your life insurance policy. That's just such a small part of it. So let's dig in now to kind of a step-by-step guide on a pre-construction. So I want to start with location, location. We always hear it. Why Southern Ontario? What just speak to the location of why Southern Ontario and what you look for a property that you're going to recommend to an investor.
100%. So again, your audience is investors, and I think that's why covering some of the industry details on the inside is important, because they need to know what motivates the people that work for them and service their needs. And this location goes into why 6 to 12 projects a year. So what due diligence? Because my job in our team is to actually procure the opportunities. My partner Jazz is who presents them to our insiders. So he manages our core insiders. I manage our core inventory and business development in order for him to have enough inventory to sell. So what goes into it? First and foremost, pre-construction has become an asset class, a multi-billion-dollar asset class, for one simple reason. Ontario specifically is 1.5 million homes short of a balanced market. To service the needs on the trajectory of population that we're on, we're 1.5 million homes behind, and that number is going to grow because we're nowhere close to being able to bridge the gap. What do I mean by that? Immigration targets this year, not only on track, they're ahead of target. We're going to see 400,000 new Canadians by the end of the year, and so on and so forth. Some people like it, some people don't. I like it. And I'll tell you why I like it. Because our country faces many issues, and all of the things that I'm talking about tie directly into why pre-construction and where pre-construction. Whether it's Vancouver, whether it's Calgary, whether it's Toronto, that you don't have to be my client, but you need to know what to look for with the agent that you work with a development that you buy in. So the fundamentals that I'm covering about population growth right now is one of the biggest things, because all those people who are going to fill the skilled trade shortage, the high education shortage, meaning engineers, architects, bricklayers, plumbers, electricians, we need them all. Alberta's as at its knees because it needs that many skilled trades. Ontario is at its knees because it needs people to construct things, actual human hands. They don't exist. Our parents, who were the bricklayers, the plumbers, the electricians, have all retired and are slowly passing. The generation after them, they sent us to university because they didn't want us to be bricklayers. Nobody's replacing them. It's a significant problem. Where they are thinking, Ontario, the educational system, they have to reintroduce shop in a big way. They have to make shop look sexy again and tell people that this is a $200,000 a year job. Don't shy away from it. A journeyman is making $2 to $250 right now in Ontario. It's not a joke.
Wow.
There's more work for days. So why pre-construction? And where? Vancouver, Montreal. Montreal is actually the only one that's the last hole in the fiddle, only because of the French language barrier. So people don't go there as much as they would go to Toronto, Ottawa, Calgary, Vancouver. Why? Because of the French barrier. Whoever doesn't have the French barrier actually goes there first. Because Montreal is probably the best city, one of the best cities in Canada. It's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And it's awesome. And the people are good. And the food is good. And the real estate is good. So Montreal is good, but other than the French barrier, it presents Indians, Chinese, Europeans with a big problem. Like if you're Greek, you've been taught English your whole life, not French though. If you're in India, you've been taught English your whole life, not French though. Chinese, same thing. So the major European countries that are actually immigrating, Asian countries actually immigrating, English is 95% taught like organically throughout all years for them to know it. So that's why Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Ottawa are the major markets where they're going to settle. So 50% are going to come to the GTA. That's fact.
Okay, so we got 400,000 people coming to Canada. Immigration, 200,000 going to be in the GTA. Specifically back to location within the GTA, You drive every time I drive downtown, I see a million cranes, and I'm like, I wonder if that's one a good. Wonder if that's a good one. How do you pick below the cranes and say this one is a good one?
Yeah. So let's get to that now. So we understand who we're selling to, and we're talking about Ontarians having their own needs, the country growing rapidly as its own needs. So now we know that we have a shortage in the GTA. We need to invest in housing. The average single family home is 1.25 or 1.3, something ridiculous. So can everyone afford that? The answer is very quick, no. Condos, the average is, call it, between 650 and 800, depending where, depending how, depending whatever. Starter home. The answer is yes. That's what people are going to go for. That's why we have a massive shortage. So where? There's three major types of condominiums. There's going to be the starter, there's going to be the affordable, there's going to be the mid-range, there's going to be the high end. High-end condos are typically downsizers. Guys who are going to sell their home because of age, because of employment, because of whatever. Going to sell their homes for $2 million, buy $1 million condo, penthouse, whatever the case may be, and settle into the city because they need to be there. Your average Canadian needs a 1+ den. Your average Canadian needs a 2-bedroom because they have a kid or two, whatever the case may be. That is utilitarian condominium. That is investment real estate. That's where we take our clients. We don't take our clients to put crown jewels in their portfolio. Those are only a few. Like from all the condos that I own, which is in the teens, 3 of them are crown jewels because I wanted to. Because I got a crazy deal on them because I sold so many things in their developments. Otherwise, I would not buy them because there's risk on those. All luxury real estate gets hit first in any economical reform. So stick to utilitarian condominiums if you're an investor. Utilitarian means you're surrounded by transit, you're in a hot employment node, you're in a healthcare node, meaning there's a hospital, so there's going to be demand for staff and long-term patients. You want to be close to employment if you're going after that, or universities if you're going after students. So you need to focus on where by using metrics that stand the test of time. During COVID, we saw universities empty out. Student housing suffered. And everybody thought that was the recession proof. Nobody thought pandemic proof. So lessons are taught along the way. We saw a pandemic rip apart the financial district. Highest end condos in the city. Empty. You could shoot a cannon through the financial district 2 years ago today. But there's asset classes that you need to hedge risk with. We cannot think of everything. We do not control the universe. But what we do control is ownership and the fact that now that the pandemic's gone, now that interest rates are up, rents have skyrocketed almost 20% higher than before the pandemic. People are right now making money hand over fist. Landlords, investors are. Sorry. Because tenants are paying us. So let's be very clear. No matter what real estate investment, you will win should you use fundamental principles. No matter what. So, transit, employment, healthcare, education. Those are the majors.
Now, with transit, like, so is there degrees, like by a bus is okay, a short walk's okay, go trains are nice, subways are nice. What's the most desirable? Depends upon the part of the GTA you're talking about, I guess.
It definitely depends on the part. It also depends on how developed the area is. So if you're going to be competing in the direct area, subway versus streetcar, subway wins every time. If it's streetcar versus bus, streetcar wins every time. If it's bus versus whatever, bus wins every time. So it's literally judging the price per square foot, so your investment outlay versus the trajectory of the investment. If you know Subway is coming, I don't care what it is today because it's going to be worth at least 30% more by the time the Subway's there. So depending, and this is experience. This is why you need the guidance of someone who has seen subway completions before and what that meant to the area. They can give you the actual evidence. So, St. Catharines, for example, which is a town between Hamilton and Niagara Falls in Ontario, for those who don't know. St. Catharines has been on a wicked upward trajectory for 13 years. My entire career almost. We used to laugh at those markets. They're the hottest markets in the country, with some of the biggest upsides still to come. Why? Because in the last decade, the GO train made an express all the way to Niagara. These markets are now easy to approach, easy to navigate, easy to get to. Tenants or like owners in Hamilton sold and bought 2 units in St. Catharines. People in Toronto sold and bought 2 units in Hamilton. More people moved in. They're accessible. The transit is real. Highway systems are better than ever. So all these things in the most densely populated area in Canada make a big difference. So coming here, it's not an easy feat to identify great opportunity, which is why we dedicated our lives to do so. And we do so by using those very key metrics from the macro to the micro. Meaning we take all the big things, umbrella it, and then dive into the little ones. Meaning, what are the traffic counts? What is happening here? Is there a plan to change this highway to go that way because it would kill all the businesses and the tenants would move out? All the little things. All the things that support and move an economy forward. So we take due diligence extremely seriously, and we do it from the top right down to the bottom.
I love it. So it's so much more than just location downtown's great. It's for me having lived in Toronto and just if you can't access transportation, then it's just not a desirable spot. And that's the same whether we're talking port credit, east, west, doesn't matter.
That's right. And let's make this very simple. So just to the general statement. Oh, downtown's great. Well, if you buy in a building that has 20,000 square foot of amenities versus buying a utilitarian condominium in a place that has 3,000 square feet of amenities, one is going to have condo fees that are 3 times higher than yours that you're going to pay for not using because you have a tenant in there. You have to know everything that affects everything. And if you haven't done it before and just say, oh, no, it's downtown, I'll be fine. Well, did you look at the fine print? What's the carrying cost? What's the trajectory of appreciation? So those are the mistakes that people make. That is the penalty for working with the wrong agent, with the wrong team. You'll be given all
So
the
let's talk
shiny
about
stuff,
that.
how beautiful it is and how amazing it's going to be. But is that an investment condominium or is that an end user condominium?
So let's dig into that team. So we've got location. I don't want to get into the broker and the builder. So let's start with the broker. As an investor looking to buy, say, a pre-construction condo in one of these markets, what should you be looking for in a broker or real estate agent? What kind of experience or traits do you want to make sure you're dealing with someone that knows what they're doing?
Yeah, so broker, lawyer, and mortgage broker all must have ample pre-construction experience. The contracts of you buying a home in an income property versus buying a pre-construction condominium is probably a difference of about 180 pages. Meaning your income property is a 5-page APS, resale, regular. We've all seen them. The other one's about 180 pages more, making it 185 pages. It is all directly skewed to the benefit of the developer, not you. You have disclosures that you can have your project canceled in 3.5 years out of 4 and your money returned to you. You're not going to lose your money, but you lost all the opportunity. So your agent has to have first access, number one, or else you're going to pay. There's pre-construction goes up in price by the time you see a crane, it's either sold out or up $200,000. Pre-construction condominiums are sold long before a crane exists. The minute their site plan approval comes in on the assembly of land and a terrier number is issued is when I have access. And I'll tell you, out of 100,000 brokers In Ontario, there's probably 24 brokers that enjoy the same level of access I do. And those are all my friends, colleagues who I respect very much. They care about the client as much as I do. And I truly do.
Let's talk about that first access because I haven't
Sure.
gone through it. First phase, second phase, third phase. What typically happens again? We've got an incredible track record, but I can't guarantee the future. But what typically happens when you get in first, as opposed to by the time you see the crane you want to get in? Just walk me through how that works.
Yeah, so to the investor to understand why this exists. So, in order for a developer, let's call the developer Darren Inc. Darren Inc. bought land. They had to finance it. They had to support it for 5 years, get it through to a site plan, get it approved, get a TARIA number. Now they want to build it. They want to sell it. They want to get their money. They want to profit. The first thing they have to do in order for them to get a construction loan is they have to reach the milestone of 65 to 75% in pre-sales in order to get and achieve their construction loan. So they are motivated to do so at the fastest way possible. Why? Because the minute that they say we're go ahead, they're going to put their building out for tender. That means they're going to get quotes and contracts from cement, from building envelope, to glazing windows, to doors, to doorknobs, to kitchen, to appliances, all the things. Think through how massive that undertaking is. They're going to get back to their quote. It's $98 million, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. $1 million. If they don't hit construction milestone within 6 months and those quotes expire, as people have heard, the cost of construction has been astronomically going up. They're going to lose 20, 30% to construction increases every year right now because of the shortage in supply and logistic issues that the world is having due to the pandemic. So the speed of sales in order to secure the financing and secure the costs is of utmost importance to the developer, which also affects the price now. So let's say we're going to go to market at $900 a foot or $1,000 to make it easy. So you're going to buy a 600 square foot condo for $600,000. They're going to reach out to Simeon, to all of Simeon's peers that have the people, the 10,000 people, the 20,000 people in their databases. Put this out there at $900 a foot. You have 20 units, you have 20 units, you have 20 units, you have 20 units. You have 40 units, you have 40 units, you have 40 units. We go to our investors, we secure the financing. The minute they hit 30%, prices go up because they need to profit. So now they know for sure they have 30% of the building sold. It's going to take them not a week, but it's going to take them 2 weeks, raise it 40,000. Next level, they got to 50%. Okay, we're almost there, raise it 40,000. They're going to get to 65%. They're going to freeze the building because now the rest of the inventory, once the crane is up, Joe walks by, oh, I'm early here. They're not even built yet. End users come in. Prices are up 90,000. Prices are up 150,000. They're also closer to completion. So you, Darren, put your money in 2 years ago. It's going to be another 2 years. The person who's walking by now, even if they pay 150,000 more, they only have to put the money in for 2 years. So your patience is rewarded by time in the market. As the market continues to build, as the neighborhoods keep developing, you're going to profit off your deposits. Your deposits go in, the building gets actualized, so you're going to put your partial deposits over that 4-year term. And at the end, whether you refinance or whether you sell it or whenever it's stabilized, it's worth X amount of dollars more than what you bought it for. So the earlier you're in, the more uptick you're going to have, the much higher your return will be. So buying pre-construction, you have to be first. If you don't know somebody or if you don't know how to find somebody that would have platinum access, that's where your friends at REC come in, meaning that if you're buying in Edmonton and you need to find a platinum broker there, I know who they are. They're my colleagues that are also top 1 percentile, but in their own respective markets. So you'll work with the Simeon of Edmonton. You'll work with the Susan of Vancouver. All our team are those type of people, and our networking is with the same type of people. So we're happy to refer, to help, for you to identify a power team no matter where you are in the country.
So I want to dig in a little more. You talked about down payments and how that. Can you just walk someone through? So great, you say this is you determine this is the condo I want to buy. It's got a 3 year, which means a 4 year because they always kind of lie about the actual
Yeah, you
completion
bet.
dates. Sorry, they misspeak or misunderstanding whatever the current term is for just make stuff up. So when you go to buy that condo, you talked about the power of leverage, only putting 20% down but getting 100% of the gain. But it even gets better with pre-construction. Can you walk us through the math on
It
that?
sure does. Yeah, so your 20% total, that's going to be the total due at registration. But you have the luxury of breaking that up. And it's typically 10% in the first year, 5% in the second year, and 5% at occupancy. We've seen deals sweeter, like the one you did, Darren. I have many with terms that'll just blow your mind. So you're further breaking down the investment. So on a 500,000 on a $600,000 condo, 20% is 120,000. If you have to break that in four, we're talking about four $30,000 payments. Not about 120 today, 30 now, 30 whenever, 30 whenever, and 30 whenever. The IRR, this is where you need to start looking at internal rate of return of that money is obscene. And the internal rate of return is a time value of money being put in. Because that 20%, if it grows by, if that condominium grows by 100,000, it's very easy. Oh, you doubled your money. But it's not. The return is ridiculous because what the first $20,000 made versus what your last $20,000 or $30,000 made is very different. And as an investor, you need to start growing your mind in understanding how you can literally leverage the daylights out of 30,000 bucks. And I know, Darren, what you've done in your portfolio before, which is another level up, where you literally are using none of your own money and you're making money like three different ways on somebody else's money. It's just insane. I hope you have the time to cover it.
Yeah, we'll get to that at the end. So you put 5% down, so on a $200,000 or 5 or 10. So if you put 30,000 down, and that $600,000 condo goes to 700, well, wow, what $30,000 down and 100 grand increase in 1 year.
Put it this way: if the market goes up 5% a year, which the average over 40 years in the GTA is 7, if it just goes up 5%, let's keep the math simple. 5% on 600,000 is 30K, the same as your deposit. You're literally doubling every single year.
Wow. Now, let's talk about horror stories. We've all read about the condos that all the condo owners are suing the builder, and the parking garage didn't work, and there's all kinds of extra special expenses, and there's going to be stuff that just happens. But let's talk about that builder. What you guys look for in those projects you select. There's lots of cranes in Toronto, but how many of those guys are builders that you want to invest your money and your clients' money with?
Well, right now specifically, I know where you're going with the question. Right now, quite a few because they've really been thinning themselves out. Meaning the city is so expensive to build in, the skill and capital required has been so significant that the consolidation has been happening for a decade, and I can tell you that within 10 years, we're going to see half the builders not be in the city. And that's because simply they just can't do it. Like unless you're so well capitalized, unless you're vertically integrated with both sales, construction, unless you have your own crews, you simply cannot depend on being able to find enough trades quick enough to make a profit. It will just get dragged out. The city is under siege and under the thumb of outside circumstances. That's all of Canada, actually. The supply chain is so compromised and so behind that it's affecting housing at the highest level. So reputation of builder, how capitalized they are, and if they have their own crews matters more than ever. So right now I will tell everyone, do not buy without speaking to us or someone like us. make sure that they're at the highest level connected and knowledgeable. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because you don't want to put your money in for all the benefits and the beautiful things we just discussed, only to have your original capital returned to you in 3 years and say, sorry, bud, this didn't work out for us. We regretfully inform you that we're canceling. They lost millions. It's not like they're bad people, but you just lost your opportunity. So at the end of the day, do you care if somebody else lost money? Well, we don't feel so sorry for you. You're a multi-billion-dollar company, but I lost my opportunity. So you cannot take the chance on new builders, not in today's market, not right now. Right now, you need to be working with Tridel, with Menkes, you need to be working with all the Marlin Spring. You need to be working with Graybrook, with Tribute, with all the companies that have firm, massive backgrounds. Edenshaw, just phenomenal outfits that have always outperformed their competitors in both quality, delivery, and time. So if you Google any of the names that I just mentioned, you're going to see a very rich history of building. Empire Communities, Great Golf. These are multi-million dollar syndicates that can actually do the job even if the economy were to take a pause.
So you talked about money returning in the worst case scenario where the deal didn't come together, the builder was going to lose too much money or didn't want to continue to lose money, so they're going to return the money. Now, where's that money housed? Like, is there a fear of that builder going bankrupt and not getting your deposit back? Now, I know every jurisdiction's different, but can you speak to Ontario with that?
I can speak to
Okay,
Canada
perfect.
on this. The money never goes to the builder. So your money was never with a builder. Your money is in trust to their lawyer. If they cancel a project, your money is returned. In the very rare case, because it's happened, I heard once 5 years ago there was a project up in Markham, but that's fraud. So it's different if there's fraud. It's extremely rare. I would say it's 0.11% of that likelihood, and it's as rare as you getting, I don't know, hijacked on the highway. Like it can happen. A lawyer can go rogue, but like when have you ever heard of a big law firm taking the money and directing it to the seller against the law and them cashing it? Like, it just doesn't happen. So the answer is no. You don't lose your money, but you lose your opportunity. You lose the upside. So the money would be returned. If a builder ever requires you to give them the money, it's a small builder. Don't do it ever in your life until that building is up and running.
Okay. So we got the location, we got the broker, we've got the builder, we've got the sort of the down payment, we've got the safety net of the money being returned in the worst case scenario. What other clauses in there? Because again, I'm a real estate investor and people who
Yeah.
work with me are real estate investors. But just going through your program, I didn't know about these clauses I should be looking for, and the
Yeah.
education provided was awesome. But just walk me through some of the key clauses you're looking for your investors.
Yeah, and there's truly some key ones. So, not in every jurisdiction, but in Ontario specifically, there's a thing called the occupancy. Occupancy in Ontario came as a result. It's not a nefarious thing. It's actually done to accommodate end users. So in BC, you can't close until it's built, like fully built and hand delivered. In Ontario, when the building, an inspector has passed the safety, if the hallways don't have carpet, you can move in. If the elevators don't have the mirrors in them yet, but they go up and down, and the building is safe to walk through, you can move in. And that's called the occupancy period. And the reason for that is because Toronto, there can be such big delays at the finishing stage. There was guys and gals who sold their house. They got a letter saying you're going to be moving in July. Turns out they couldn't move in until December. So, but they sold their house, and now they're incurring tens of thousands of dollars in expenses. So what they did is they negotiated and put into law the occupancy period, where at least they can move in and not have to go through those problems. But the occupancy period to the developer was something that now they use to their advantage, because the minute that you occupy your place, you're taking over the payments of the interest. Even though you don't own it, you're getting the carrying costs. And when you have 500 units and that occupancy period is 6 or 8 or 9 months, the cost of carrying this project just went down by millions to the developer. So they want to get to that occupancy period at like ASAP, which to the investor, to their dismay, found out that they don't own it, but they have to assume costs. And if they don't own it, how can they lease it? Who assumes the bad tenant? Who does the money go to? Who owns it? So it was a temporary quagmire where the developer owns it, you're responsible for it, and a tenant could not move in because the developer, I'm not assuming a tenancy and the risk that comes with a tenancy for you to get paid rent. So it created an environment where the investor had to carry it for 9 months, bleeding $3,000 a month or whatever the case may be, depending on purchase price, which was the worst part of the investment. By going into the APS first and negotiating the right to lease during occupancy, you now have told the developer that you're going to be leasing, you are an investor, and you have the right to do so, and they sign off on it. Now, because that time, you're only carrying the interest of what the portion of the mortgage would be based on your purchase price, not an actual payment. What would be the worst part of your ownership in a condominium in Ontario becomes your highest cash flowing time as a result of that simple amendment.
Wow.
Because once your mortgage kicks in, the principal repayment part comes in. During occupancy, you don't have that.
Oh, I'd like occupancy for like 10 years if you can swing that for me. Yeah.
Exactly, but only if you don't have the right to occupy, the right to lease during occupancy. You literally turn the worst time to the best time just by that simple amendment. And there hasn't been a deal that we haven't negotiated that in for our clients.
Wow. Love it.
So that's number one. Number two would be the right to get rid of the unit should you have to. And that's called assignment. It's called assignment because the right to assign your unit happens in the type of paper. The more bricks and mortar doesn't exist yet, but you have a right to a home in the sky coming in 4 years. And this APS is the one that gives you that. By having the right to assign the condo, should life change for you, should your partner, whether it's divorce, death, change in lifestyle, change in employment, anything negative or positive for that matter that affects you closing on this, or meaning you're leaving the country for a promotion, you don't want to have something behind. Whatever the case life throws at you, you need to have an optional exit. And that optional exit in a pre-construction contract is called assignment. And you need to have that, and we typically negotiate that either to be free or just a small legal charge versus not having it, and when you need it and the builder says, well, values have gone up about 100,000, I'll give you the right to assign if you give me 30. Because they can. Because you didn't negotiate it, because you didn't know. It's their right. It's only on builder's consent that you can assign a unit. So if they want to be that way, and we've seen it a million times, they do it. So having that up front is the second key piece of your incentives that you need to purchase an investment condominium. Number three would be the capping of development charges, the capping of meter charges. What does that mean? Ontario, if you just Google development charges going up, you're going to see a 200% increase in the last 4 years. There is another one coming up. While you may hear the government talk about affordability, it couldn't be more backwards as to what they actually do. All the shortcomings in the economy are being literally washed away by what they're stealing in the back end from development, which is paid by you. They go to the real estate industry because the real estate industry went up and the margins went up, and they've taken those margins out by increasing development charges. So there's really almost $200,000 in taxes in any given condo before it's ever built.
200,000.
200,000. That's factual. If you go to the Ontario Real Estate Association, you will see the backup to that.
Wow.
Development charges, parkland levies, educational levies, all the things. Almost $200,000.
So if I don't have that cap in place, saying, the developer can only charge me 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever, 50 grand, whatever the number is, I'm just rolling the dice, hoping the developer doesn't throw at the last minute when I'm ready to close on this a big development charge.
Well, it's not the developer; it's the city that imposes them.
The city. Okay.
So if you lock it in, the developer is going to take the brunt of that increase. So the developer has to choose. If you want me to buy, I'm not taking the risk on charges going up further. Then the developer will say, you know what, I'll give you the cap. I'll roll the dice. But if you leave it open, of course the developer is going to pass them on to you. Who the hell wouldn't? It's simple sense. But if you didn't know development charges were actually a thing, let alone negotiate them down, you would lose. And this is what I mean by there are so many ways to lose. It's full of mines. The market is full of mines. And all you need is not guesswork, but a metal detector. I'm your metal detector. Your lawyer is your metal detector. Your mortgage broker is your metal detector. Your wealth advisor is your metal detector. They profit from you not stepping on mines. I am incented to make you win so you can refer me so you can buy again in 3 years. I have all the things going to help you. Even if I was not a good person, it is the nature of the deal for me to have your back. Now, if you work with the right people who actually like you and like the business that they're in, because I love my business, you have a double win. You make a new friend and you're protected. It's a good time.
Perfect. So you talked about buying another one in 3 years. So before I jump into my example of how I paid for this condo that I purchased through you guys, can you just walk me through an example where someone has bought one of these and then leveraged that and bought another one, or leveraged that and bought another property? Like, just walk me through a typical example you might have seen through your years.
So I have seen hundreds of them, including myself. So basically, we can talk about one of my first purchases, where I bought a condominium in the downtown East District of River City. The condo project itself, if you want to Google it, it's called River City. After the area that it's in Corktown. I basically bought this thing for $298,000. Everybody's laughing and smiling because they know that hasn't existed in a decade. And it will never exist again. So I bought this thing for $298,000. By the time it was built, it was appraised at $425,000. If anybody has a calculator, let's just make it $450,000 for fun. Let's make it $450,000 for fun. What's 20% of $450,000? Is it $90,000?
Yep.
Well, when I bought it at $290,000, I had put $60,000 down. So the balance on the mortgage would have been $240,000 because I had to put 20% down to close. But now it's worth $450,000. And if we go to 80% of that, how much money did Simeon get back?
$30,000.
Sure. What did I do with that $30,000?
Go to Vegas?
I got paid to buy a condo. So I buy my condo with $60,000, $30,000 comes back, so I literally have 30 G's inside a project, which is now worth $700,000. But let's forget about that for a second. What did I do a decade ago with that $30,000?
You bought?
I bought another condo. I definitely did not go to Vegas. I definitely did not buy a bigger car, a nicer looking watch. So I literally, for a decade, all I did, all the profits from our business, every ounce we had, we put into real estate. And I can tell you that hundreds of my clients did the same. We created literally hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth over the last decade of good time real estate. Sunny skies.
Wow.
Wind was in our sails. We took advantage of the right projects at the right time. Now, with the winds not in our sails, meaning interest rates rising, inflation up, all the volatility in the market, what do? We need to focus on the right product of real estate. This is the time that you pivot. You don't stop investing. This is the time where the players are going to play. This is the time that the people who are savvy and smart are going to make some of the best moves of their lives. And there are real estate opportunities for this time, right now.
Yeah, it's harder to find, and the importance of education and dealing with the right team, I think, is it's always important. But with the volatility and a little bit of uncertainty, it's so much more important in today's environment. And then just before I dig into the last example, I love that. I love that, we tell people all the time, if you want to be rich, it's pretty simple. Do what rich people do. And what do rich people do? They invest in themselves through education. They learn how to be a better real estate investor boss. They start businesses and they invest in real estate. So 3 for 3 there. Thanks for sharing this. This was incredible.
I want to thank your audience for listening to my to all of my experiences. I hope it brought them value. I hope it brought everyone some ideas and things to think about. For anybody who wants to reach out to me, reach out to Darren. We speak often. Hit our website at REC Canada. Find me on socials. You'll find me. I'm on every platform. But I want to thank you for your time. I know where you're going with your strategy because we put it into place together. And it's one of the most brilliant things one can do. And I hope there are people in your audience that will take that strategy because it's literally the pinnacle of how to use other people's money to profit over time securely.
Simeon, thank you so much. We'll post your contact information in the show notes. Thank you. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you always know when new content is coming out. For more helpful tips and tricks, visit our Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok pages at Control and Compound. If you want to reach out to us directly or work with us, visit our website at controlandcompound.com. The links are in the show notes below. See you next episode.